fundraiser for
That would be a
the
good
local
fundraiser.
bar.
I believe we have a quorum, if my recollection is correct, so I know we have a big presentation ahead, so we're gonna, I just keep talking to people, start making things up. Some of us just came from North Minneapolis and really don't have much traffic, we thought we might be a little late, but we got here on time. Welcome everyone. This is the Met Council Committee of the Whole meeting. And if you're watching live, well, welcome. This is the quarterly meeting where we have update on safety and security action plan. We've been at this for a number of years, so it's exciting to see Chief Morales and others who have been able to present how far we've come on our work. And welcome General Manager Caderas. That is the agenda. Unless anybody objects, I will deem it approved. I didn't say this is August 7th, and we are reviewing a number of Council Committee of the Whole meetings and Metro Blue Line Extension Supplemental Draft EIS minutes for a number of meetings that were sent out in advance. One on July 17th, that's the Committee of the Whole. July 16th was the hearing, and July 23rd was the subsequent hearing. And if it would be okay to take all of them together, I think that might be the best use of our time. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I make one minor change to
Yes.
one of them before we do that? The last paragraph of text in the minutes for July 17th says Councilmember Wolf asked if we had a list of housing by the region and whether all the manufactured homes have lots with them, etc. The question was, can we have a list of occupancy rates
Okay.
for the region?
Okay.
So just change
With
that minor
that-
change. With that, I would move all three.
Friendly correction to the minutes. We will make that part of the approval. Thank you. Any other corrections, additions, subtraction, comments? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to.
Mr. Chair, I made the motion already. We need
You
a
made the
second.
motion. Thank you.
Second.
We'd like a second.
Point of order, we just need
Just joking. Thank you. All right, any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, all those minutes are approved as amended. Now, on to our information session. Good to see you both, and we've been looking forward to this, so welcome. Take it away.
Thanks, Chair Zelli, council members. Thank you for having us here today to provide our Q2 Safety Security Action Plan update. I'm trying to advance and it's not letting me, so hopefully we can, there we go, very good. So I'm just gonna provide a brief introduction, then I'll hand it over to Chief Morales to provide the Metro Transit Police Department update. And then the second part of our presentation tonight will be highlighting some of the key action items that are advancing in our safety and security action plan. As you're well aware, we have a full report that provides an action item by action item status update. I know there's a copy out on the desk there, and you should have received a copy as well with the materials for today. So we won't go through all 43 action items, but we do have several presenters here tonight to talk about some of the work they're leading as it relates to the safety and security action plan. Before I get going too much further, we actually have a video we wanted to share with you. As we've talked about with this group before, we know it's important that we're doing this work, and it's also important that we're showing that we're doing this work. And so we're continuing to look for ways that we can communicate this progress, and it's sticking on me. There we go. So this video is one of the tools we're using to do that. Play. I see the cursor moving, so I'm assuming somebody is trying to make that work. All right, well, it doesn't look like the video will play, so maybe we can come back to that later. But in short, the video is really reflecting on 2 years of the Safety and Security Action Plan. I'll go ahead, Great. Okay. Maybe there is some flaw in our file. So at any rate, sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll send a link to the video out. Thanks, Greg. Part of what the video captures, though, is we're really at the 2-year mark of having the Safety and Security Action Plan in action. The council endorsed it back in June of 2022, following years of work, starting with the transit safety conversations that began in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, followed by the police work group that was chaired by Councilmember Chambliss, and then the action plan that was developed in the first part of 2022. We've always considered this a living document as we do this work and learn more about what's working, where we need to put more attention. We are continuously looking at how to adapt it, how to change the plan. We currently have 43 action items in the plan, and those are spread across 3 areas of work: improving conditions on the system, training and supporting employees, and engaging customers and partners. And when we get to part 2 of tonight, you'll hear updates on items in each of those buckets. And then before turning it over to Chief Morales, I'll give you just the snapshot of where we are in terms of action plan item status. As has been the case for the last few quarters, we have every action item in some stage of either planning or implementation. Nothing's not started. This quarter, we moved a few items from that implementation progress to implementation either underway or complete. So we continue to move things forward. And we know though at the same time that tracking where the action items are isn't the same as measuring impact. And some of what you'll hear from the chief is what we're seeing in terms of crime rates and calls for service and other indicators that we've been tracking to understand the impact of our work. So with that, I'll hand it over to the chief, and I apologize the video didn't play, but we'll make sure you get a copy of it. So, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, council members. Before I begin my briefing, I just want to commend the men and women of the Metro Transit Police Department for doing a spectacular job. I think the presentation is going to reflect that, and I'm happy to be sitting here before you this afternoon to share the great work that they're doing on a daily basis within our system. We still have a long way to go, but we continue to make progress, and I'm happy with their results, and they're showing. With that, I'll begin the presentation. Overall crime is down 17.5% when we compare Q2 of 2024 to Q2 of 2023. From this point forward, I'll just referring to this year as opposed to last year. This includes serious crimes, rules for riding violations, vandalism, drugs, tobacco, and alcohol violations. When we look at the most serious crimes, or the FBI's top 7 crimes, crime is down 18.4%. Once again, I want to remind everyone in the room and everyone who's listening that these are most serious crimes, which include homicide, sex crimes, robberies, assaults, larcenies, thefts, motor vehicle thefts, burglaries, and break-in and entry. All other crimes are down 37.3%.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question? I had seen some of this good news, so thank you very much. Do we have, this is gonna sound weird, how do I say this, because I talk a lot. How do we know where we wanna be as far as, there's never ever an amount of acceptable crime, but at what level are we trying to get to where we feel like we've kind of gotten some handle on this, we've got other players that are helping us in the whole complexity of what society brings to our assets. So is there a number that we've defined that we're really working towards? As we see good numbers, are we gonna get to a point where we're like, hey, now look where we are? Because this is, when you look at peer systems and peer regions that are operating safely and efficiently and all the things, is there a number that we're shooting for in this? No pun intended.
Chair?
Wait.
Councilmember Johnson, thank you for the question. I think throughout my presentation, I'll address your questions, If you want me to go through it, I can address it right now.
No, I'll wait.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So as I continue, when we look at the rules for riding, vandalism, alcohol, tobacco, narcotics, and violations, you'll see that a majority of the crimes committed are quality of life crimes. Rules for riding violations were down 19% when you compare 2024 to 2023. Vandalism violations were down 14% when you compare the same time period. Alcohol, tobacco, and narcotic violations are up 38%. Why is this? This category includes smoking, which you can see makes up a vast majority of the category. We specifically targeted smoking at the start of this year. So this is proactive policing. We realized that it was a major issue and it still persists and is a major issue, but we're focusing on this. So we send our police officers out there to address these violations as noted and as witnessed from our real-time information center. They work with our patrol officers. We deploy them to the areas. We identify the individuals who are violating these quality of life issues, and we conduct enforcement.
Chief, let's just go back to that page, and I think I'm gonna have a similar question, not about what level do we want, but we're kind of fighting ourselves a little bit when we give these statistics, because we're leaning into smoking.
Yes, we are.
Which means we're actually issuing violations, which means it's recorded as a crime. So when we say crime's down 17%, it's really not telling the story that what we're experiencing, whereas, you know, a lot of crime, much of our nuisance crime is down 37%. Our really serious crime is down 19%. So, and I'm not suggesting we change it, but it's helpful to know that a lot of these statistics aren't necessarily measuring the actual behavior of what's going on in the trains and the buses. They're measuring kind of our, the records of violations. And when we're actually recording more because we're actually capturing more bad behavior and doing something about it, that actually is a good thing, but it's not representing what is actually happening. And obviously we have more work to do. But have you given some thought as to how do we measure what's actually going on?
Right, yes.
You know, in terms of nuisance behavior, and I think it becomes anecdotal and it's hard to measure, so we want to do whatever we're doing consistently. But I think many of us are thinking the same thing, which is, A, what's really going on? Two, give yourself a break. Like, you've done a lot, and we want to not just say captures the headline, crime down 17%, ridership's up 9%. Well, there's a lot more nuance in these numbers than what we're gathering from what we kind of get from that top line.
Chair, to be fair, I want to say there isn't a magic number. I believe it's based on perception. When our commuters feel safe and comfortable, then we hit the right goal. What that number is, that number ultimately in the perfect world would be 0. In major cities, we understand that is not going to happen. However, we're very comfortable with our multi-layers of presence that we're improving the system. I think everybody has seen the improvement. However, we do have a long way to go. It will never be a perfect world.
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you. I really appreciate that question, and I know, Chief, that the last time you were with us, you spoke about reported crime, and you actually were able to separate officer-initiated reports from, community-initiated reports. Do you continue to do that so that we can see the difference?
Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, Councilmember Carter, we absolutely do that, so that you can see the distinction between proactive policing and reported crimes.
And that's wonderful. It would be helpful to see those numbers on a regular basis as we work to communicate with our communities. That in fact we are being more proactive, and so those numbers may be higher. What really matters is that we're looking for that safer environment, and everyone would agree to that and understand the reason for leaning in.
Councilmember Carter. Yeah.
I had a question, and maybe this doesn't matter, but I was wondering if it's possible to see a breakout between tobacco smoking versus marijuana smoking, because if, for example, if we're getting a lot of tobacco smoking and only a little bit of marijuana smoking, then the perception is gonna be a little bit different with it, even though it's still a nuisance. Like I have asthma, that would be a real problem for me, but I think I would just be interested to see that.
Chair?
No.
Councilmember, I think I can definitely look into that. I'll work with my IT to see that we can break it down. It'll take a little more work, but specifically how those violations are recorded when the officer issues a citation is important. So I will follow up with you on that. When we look at our crimes per 100,000 rides within the system, you'll see that both overall crime, reported crime, and top sevens are down 18% as reported when we compare this year to last, while ridership has increased 5.8%. Calls for service. Overall calls for service declined in 2024 versus 2023. Dispatch calls for service went down 12.6%. Officer-initiated calls went down 18.7%. Why? Because we have more of an official presence out on the system. We have our transit ride investment program agents. We have our community service officers. We also have supplemental security, and their presence deters unwanted behavior. We were asked about total arrests, and we broke it down in quarter two cases. A majority of the cases are pending in court, or 52%. Next, nearly 28% of our cases resulted in a full or partial conviction. You can see the numbers there broken down. When we break this down even further, cases that were still under investigation this quarter, a total of 350 cases. About 40% of those cases have been closed. 131 cases are still active investigation, where we're actually investigating and attempting to identify the subjects involved in those crimes. The remaining cases are active or pending attorney review. A closer look at the 55 pending cases from quarter two. A majority are awaiting lab results, 12 are actively being investigated, and one was transferred to another agency for further investigation within their jurisdiction. Staffing with the MTPD as of the end of quarter two. We were at 104 when we should be at 171. I do want to add that we added 9 officers in the academy, and our full-time officer numbers as of today, August 7th, remains at 112 out of the 171. So we're making progress there. We're optimistic that the 9 will graduate. We're hoping that's the case and they make it through the academy. Community service officers, we're currently at 15 out of 70. Support services, we have 29 out of 34. At our last presentation, council members wanted to know how many officers we will lose to retirement in the coming years. You look at the chart on the right, and it tells you in the next 5 years, we estimate that 25 officers will be eligible for retirement. We did this based on the para age of 55. Our hiring initiatives. We will be welcoming a second class of community service officers under the Pathways program this fall. Our program will be initiated on August 19th. This round, we're providing promotional materials in Hmong, Somali, and Spanish. Successful applicants who make it through the program will be hired as a CSO in April of 2025. We're still offering competitive hiring bonuses, $4,000 with full-time officers, $8,000 for lateral officers, and $18,000 tuition reimbursement for community service officers.
Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, could you tell me again what a lateral officer is?
Sure. So a lateral officer is an officer who has experience and they're coming over from one of the other departments.
Got it. Thanks.
Yes. Here, we had law enforcement partnerships. I think they're a great part of our success and being great partners within the region is us partnering with our law enforcement agencies. This past week, we conducted a summer surge with the Minneapolis Police Department. We have been heavily focused on strengthening our law enforcement partnerships. We just wrapped up Operation Safe Summer on August 3rd. This was focused enforcement detailed involving multiple law enforcement agencies and prosecution partners within the city of Minneapolis. The operation targeted violent individuals who negatively and disproportionately impact our neighborhoods. It resulted in dozens of arrests, numerous recovered guns, over 40 to be specific, and a significant amount of recovered narcotics. Also holding public safety partnership meetings with local agencies along the GO line, the bus rapid transit line, and the Green Line extension. We're also working on joint power agreements with these agencies. We're offering transit, policing training, sharing our crime data among our department analysts, and tours of our headquarters and our real-time information center. Community outreach. We continue to invest in our homeless action team. This year, they handled 378 calls for service. They supported the Transit Service Intervention Project. Those were community-based partners that were integral in our success. They conducted 11 outreach events. 76 people connected to housing and benefits resources. Our community outreach events. We attended over 40 events. Nearly 4,600 community members were reached. Community-oriented media. I'm a continued guest on KMOJ, Native Roots radio station, and La Raza. La Raza is an all-Spanish station, and I think that it's important that I reach out to minority communities, particularly the communities that we serve, and speak to them on their radio stations so they understand that they're integral and important to us as we continue to provide service within those communities. Our weekly updates. We give weekly updates on our social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram and X. With that said, I would like to try, well, it's not here. I was gonna try to play a video.
I think we're gonna do it separately.
Okay.
We're gonna play now.
We're gonna put.
Oh, so we would like to show you the videos.
Ah.
Thank you.
I've been having teams for this for the last couple of days. We're just getting on this meeting.
Me too.
Yesterday I couldn't even get on. Just Teams weirdness. I don't know if they updated something.
Yeah. It's a Teams thing. Greg's the wizard in the background.
Pay no attention.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about community policing and why I think it's important. Not only does it bridge a gap between us and the community and helps us come together, but it makes it more likely for them to come up to us because we can't do our job without them. So building that, community bond with them and seeing us other than somebody in a uniform, it builds that trust in them, and we get to know them personally inside their community as we're working.
I think community outreach is important because one of the main things we hear from them is not enough transparency from the police departments. So engaging them in these community events will help create a connection.
I believe in community outreach because it helps build a bridge between the community and the police officer coming together as one.
As of recent, societal views on policing has been relatively negative. I think it's extremely important to engage in the community to be able to build good community relations and a better societal view on police.
I believe in community outreach because I believe the bonds between the community and the police officers need to be strong and trusted.
Community outreach is important to us as officers because it builds more trust through the community, especially when we're out there face to face and talking with them.
Outreach is important to me because I truly care about everyone in our community. It's crucial for us to connect with people and form real relationships and build trust. That leads to open and honest conversation that we desperately need. This ultimately helps me and the entire police department serve our community better.
Community outreach is important to me because I don't want people to be afraid of the uniform or the equipment or the squads. I want them to feel like they can come up to us, that we're approachable, and we can express kindness, compassion, and empathy, and not have to necessarily be on a call for service because someone called 911. We need to break down these barriers, reach out to the people we serve, and establish a good connection with them.
It's nice.
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 That's right.
It's a winner.
Scam alert. Press.
Oh.
Okay.
Y'all laugh
Press
now, but
okay.
you're in it with me if it
Right.
goes wrong.
That's right.
Well, with that, I'm eligible, I'm ready for questions if there are any follow-up questions.
All right, any questions? Councilmember Benton.
This might be best to wait with some of the other presentations, so I'll ask it now, and if you want to defer it, I'm happy with that. But I'm curious as to if, and I don't remember, Leslie, I apologize, but I'm curious as to whether or not, as part of our community outreach, we've thought about how we can have similar kinds of conversations and outreach beyond the traditional service areas for Met Transit. I know a number of people who live Stillwater, Cottage Grove, Hastings. They used to drive to park and rides and then take transit to a ball game or a concert or theater or shopping, whatever. They don't do it anymore, and not all of them, but a number of them, and I would have to say a majority of them, often talk about safety concerns. And I'm wondering if we've thought about how we can reach out to those potential riders, because that could have a great impact on our ridership.
From a public safety standpoint, I think that we're definitely utilizing our social media platforms to speak about the improvements that we're making. We're definitely reaching out and doing community outreach. I know it's going to be discussed shortly about our efforts to get ridership back up.
Right.
And we're heading in the right direction, but we want to continuously promote the great work that we're all doing collaboratively together internally. We all working on the same mission, and that's providing a clean and safe ride for everyone involved.
Mr. Chair, yes, and the numbers show that, and that's great. But my point is, if I don't live within some of these neighborhoods and I'm not riding these modes of transit, I may not be getting all of this interaction with police officers. So what I'm thinking about is how do we reach out to the people in I almost said greater Minnesota, but the greater metro region, you know? How do we make sure that they begin to feel more comfortable and really start to rely on us as a source of transportation?
Yeah. Chair Zelli, Councilmember Bento, yeah, appreciate that question, and I don't feel we've probably put together a thorough enough strategy to fully get at what you're raising, but it is part of this broader point where in addition to doing all this work, we need to be communicating about it. And you know, I get daily comments from customers telling me they will never ride again because of an experience they have, and if that's true, then they won't be around to see the improvements. So that's where the communications and outreach strategy is absolutely a critical component of this. So we have, I know Nikki Mulhausen is in the audience. We added a full-time communications specialist focused on public safety at the end of last year, in part to build that capacity. And so I, just appreciate your comments, and I think
is your business
opportunities to do more of that. I think also, and you'll hear from Sophia Guinness in a moment, our Director of Community Affairs, but as we are out engaging people on Network Now, for example, we'll be in a lot of communities across the region, and that might be a natural opportunity to be able to share some updates on public safety and other developments on Metro Transit. So.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to do one quick follow-up. A good place for us to start, and Sophia, this might already be part of the plan, and I know that Chief Morales, there have already been conversations with the Woodbury Police and other law enforcement along the gold line, but perhaps there can be a real safety component to some outreach with officers in Woodbury, Oakdale, Landfall, along that new route prior to the start of service, so that we've got folks, really ready and comfortable to get on the gold line.
Yeah, it looks like the chief wants to say, Chair, and
Chair?
then it looks, I'll just mention, it looks like Greg might have found our other video too, so maybe we'll get to
I
that,
thought that was a dystopian rock video.
That is not our video, the one that's on there right now. It looks great, so.
Ooh.
Chair,
Yeah.
Councilmember Bento, we brought in our law enforcement partners from the areas there. We spoke with them. We've agreed to do joint exercises so that the officers know what we're expecting of them, and we can be great partners. And I think that'll go a long way in them communicating our joint efforts within the areas to promote the safety.
Yeah, right, thank you. Councilmember Wolf, did you have?
I'll wait until after the rest of the presentation.
Oh, okay, great, thank you, Chief. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just on this, at this break time before we go into the next section, a couple things. I just want to really thank the director and the chief for their responsiveness to engaging with the community. I have a few requests I've passed on, and I really appreciate that. That matters a lot to people to have high-level officers and staff at these meetings. And the other thing, and maybe in Sophia's part we can get into this a little more, but with engaging with these joint efforts that are going on between jurisdictions. So in my little area, we see this with MP Minneapolis Police, Hennepin County Sheriffs, Transit Police. I don't know if I see troopers much, but these are really visible and they have impact, which is useful. And they're not that part doesn't happen with a lot of community engagement. And so I just want to kind of lift up and put out there that we have a lot of allies in the area I live and represent, and broad engagement is good, and then specific engagement, especially around these kind of focused and intensified efforts, is good as well. And so, and it's not really the Metro Transit. I mean, we're just not feeling a lot of direct engagement around those increased efforts. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Just one point on the number of officers and the new ones coming on. In give me a period of time, the last 12 months, or maybe this year, how many officers have we lost? And were they retirements? Were they transfers to different, a lateral thing you mentioned? And do we still, I know we must still be tracking, why are we leaving or what's the situation? So with that question, I'm just trying to get at retention and, what's our biggest challenge there?
Chair. Councilmember Johnson, thank you for the question. On the 18 months that I've been here, we lost approximately 22 officers. We're having to place an issue as far as retention. Culture is a big challenge. We're a fairly young department, 30 years old, and I believe that culture was neglected. The way business was operated within the Metro Transit Police Department was not what young officers envisioned. As a seasoned veteran with 34 years in law enforcement, my third department, I'm now building that culture. I'm building the culture that they can be proud of. Something that they can come to work and say, look at what our department is doing. We are police officers that represent our region proudly. They stand tall now. I know that when I'm with my law enforcement partners around the state, they proudly refer to our efforts in the Metro Transit Police Department. They invite us to present our efforts, and I convey the job that our men and women are doing on a daily basis. So continuously speaking about the impact that we have within the region, the partners that we want to be, and showing them they need to stand up proud because they have something to be proud of will go a long way in retaining them. And we're seeing the numbers go in the right direction. As a matter of fact, it's forecasted that later this year, we will be past the number of officers that were on the force when I took over.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. I think we're going to part 2. Is that the plan?
Just drowning in paperwork?
This work ain't fit for a fire. In 2022, we committed ourselves to change when we unveiled our Safety and Security Action Plan, made up of over 40 actions to improve public safety on transit and provide an experience our riders and employees deserve. Those actions all revolve around 3 areas of work: improving conditions on the system, training and supporting employees, and engaging customers and partners. Now, in 2024, every action item has moved forward, with the majority being implemented in ways you can see every day. We've grown our official presence with layers of safety: police officers, community service officers, transit rider investment program agents, community partners, and supplemental security. Our ability to monitor our surveillance camera network has expanded, and customers can now monitor live video in real time on buses. We've created and installed new signage across the system so that everyone knows the rules for riding, what it means to take pride in your ride, and be part of this public shared space. We've made it a priority for stations, buses, and trains to be cleaned more frequently. We've made it easier than ever before to let us know if something needs to be fixed, report unwanted behavior, or provide feedback. And we've added new ways for you to stay informed about the progress we've made. Thank you for your patience and support as we continue to make sure things keep moving in the right direction. For more information about our continuing efforts to create a cleaner, safer, and more welcoming system, visit metrotransit.org/public-safety.
Hi, we're Visible. Get set to travel this summer with a wireless plan that'll keep you connected on the go. All on one line.
Where does that play?
Who hears this?
Yeah, where's it airing?
Where's it airing? Other than council meetings?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's really.
Oh, it's on the metrotransit.org/public-safety website now. It went up with the full presentation and report today, so, and also out on both Metro Transit and MTPD's social media channels.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Cook.
I don't know how fast that was. It was very, very chock full of information and well done. And it may be brief enough that it can be on channels, you know?
Yeah.
So that people hear it every now and then instead of having to come to us, you know? I'd really like to hear it in my car, you know, or hear it on transit while I'm there.
And Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
It gets back to my point, you know, if I've already checked out on Met Transit, I'm not gonna go to the website and look for anything.
Right.
But if I'm cooking dinner and it happens to come on the TV as I'm cooking dinner, oh, that's good to hear, you know, crime is down. Buses are clean, you know.
Right,
Then it costs a little money.
kind of a PSA.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing on that. I just thought that was great. So thanks for sharing it and really encouraging and I ride fairly regularly. I really like the real-time video on the bus. People just seem to behave better when they know that everyone can be, viewing them on the bus. So there's that kind of social pressure helps people to behave. And I know there's more technology being implemented at stations. And does any of our stuff broadcast? I mean, can that be broadcast into a station, or can something like this be broadcast onto a bus with this technology? I just think, kind of to the point that, Sue's making, it's really, I think, encouraging. Cool.
On the bus itself.
Yeah, on the bus itself, or at the stations.
I want to give a shout out to Councilmember Pacheco, who's been talking and asking about monitors on buses that show cameras on trains. And it's really a good idea.
I love it.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
My townhome association had to put cameras at this swimming pool. And apparently it was just recently that some of the residents realized that that meant that if they went skinny dipping late at night, that was gonna show up on the camera. So it's taking care of that problem.
So there's entertainment provided.
Well, there used to be, there isn't anymore.
Dang, no more parties at your house soon.
No, it wasn't my house. Don't worry.
Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and as you transition to part two, I think, and you can add to this, Leslie, if I miss it, but part of our goal has been to provide not just the information to the media, but there's also been a media briefing that has happened around these presentations, and that was yesterday. And so those are both a chance for us to share one direction, what the information is, but it's also a chance for them to ask questions of our leaders in this space so that we're answering the questions that are there. And so there is a part where I guess I'll make the public plea that people want this information, and sometimes I wish it got shared in ways beyond just when an incident occurs. And it's a spot we're gonna keep trying to have these regular media availabilities. I saw an email yesterday. I mean, I'm hopeful that there are gonna be some stories that run on where the information is. And it's important that as numerical number of crimes goes up and down, you have to weigh that within the context also of numerical numbers of riders going up and down to put it in context. I think that's getting to be landing a little bit better here over time as we talk about it. But it is important, and we're gonna keep doing that. That's something that I know Metro Transit's been working hard on. I do appreciate it because the story with them can really build, and then that's how it ends up while you're cooking dinner, for example.
Okay.
I think that video though, we really gotta get that video out. That is good.
Yeah. Well,
Who's up?
all right, who's up?
Real quickly, Mr. Chair, maybe Elias and Michael, we could include that video when we're out doing presentations for various community groups.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I hope it's
Hope the technology works.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, I'm listed first, so I'll go ahead and kick it off. My name is Leah Palmer. I'm the manager of the Transit Rider Investment Program. And I'm just here to talk about where we are and what we've been doing. So just to preface everything, I really want to say that with the support of leadership, including bus operations that I report through, the general manager, and you all, we are really reimagining how we address public safety on Metro Transit. There's a lot going on and a lot of good work and a lot of new work that I'm very excited about. We're confident that with the continued support that we've already been receiving, we're going to grow this program into a national model that other transit agencies can look to. For how we are enhancing the customer experience, how we're interacting with communities, and how we are assisting our own employees in improving their safety and security as well. TRIP is one way that serves really as a basis for continuing to build our system and continuing to encourage ridership. So I'm very excited to be a part of this program and to be here today to talk about our Q2 results so far. So as you can see, we launched the contracted agents in February of 2024. So we right now are using a contract through Allied Universal to staff the program, and it's been going very well. We've had staff out since February 27th and now building as we continue to staff up towards having as many as 3 or 4 teams out each day, just depending on the numbers of staff that are working. So sometimes 2 teams on the green line, sometimes 2 teams on the blue line at the same time, so really expanding where we're at and who we're reaching. As you can see here, we had 28 TRIP agents as of the end of July there. We are adding, I believe, 9 more beginning next week, so Allied continues to staff up. And looking forward, based on our agreement with the ATU that we were able to enter with them back in February, we're now hiring our own in-house Metro Transit staff that will begin in September. So that will be another 22 that will layer on to the contracted staff that we already have. Just some quick notes about kind of some of the things that we're seeing. Of course, we inspect fares. Of course, that's a huge part of what we do when we board. The first thing we do is check fares and ask riders and make sure that they have fares or advise them that they need to purchase a fare. But beyond that, presence is a really big part of what we do, and I think the chief talked about that a little bit as well too. Just simple things like being present, literally just standing there and smiling at riders drives people off the train who want to participate in antisocial behavior. It's really that simple. But we also interact. We've got one of our agents who bought lunch for a young woman who recently became homeless and had lost her kids and was just completely down. So it's a small thing, right? Let me buy you lunch. But to her, it was encouraging. It was a reach out. It was someone cares about you. And here's just a small thing that we can try to do to improve, your experience. We get customer compliments that come through customer relations, through social media. I would say probably at least 30 to 40 to date in the last, 4 months or so. People writing in to share that they saw a trip agent, that the trip agent was firm but polite in addressing behaviors, that the trip agent was greeting them, the trip agent helped them find their way around town. We carry a number of resources, including a handout that has social service resources on it, such as shelter, job opportunities, veteran services, showers, meals. So when we see someone who, may be down, maybe in need of assistance, we're able to give them those and direct them in the right place. We also partner with the MTPD's Homeless Action Team and have referred individuals that way. We carry the rider guide that has an outline of all sorts of Metro Transit information, from our code of conduct to our information lines. So you can call a number, you can reach our Transit Information Center, which when I get asked, how do I get to the Xcel Energy Center? I'm like, well, it's not on the green line, so call TIC, they can help you. Talked to a couple people yesterday at National Night Out up at Brooklyn Center Transit Center and was able to say, this is a great resource for you no matter where you're going, when you're going there. The Transit Information Team can help you. So just a way to share these resources that Metro Transit offers and be a face that then can connect them into places that they may not know about yet. And I think the agents themselves are really enjoying their work. They come back from their shift energized, to be honest, and it's energizing to me to be in the office when they come back and they're, oh my gosh, I helped this person today, or this great thing happened, or I saw this person again and I was able to get them plugged into HAT. I've got a statement from one of our supervisors, Alicia Miranda. She says, I feel greatly rewarded by my work because at the end of the day, when I help a passenger out and receive that thank you or the little side hug when they feel grateful. One of our other supervisors, Alec Moline, says the most rewarding part of our job is the regular riders and people who approach us on a daily basis to say that they see a discernible difference. That's what drives us. That's what keeps us going out. There's some difficult days, there's some difficult situations that they maneuver and manage, but those are the sorts of things that I experience when I'm out with them, that they experience every day, 8 hours a day, and brings them back every day. So with that, that kind of covers my slide. Do we want to wait on questions till the end, or? Okay, I guess
Nobody's
I'm open for
shy.
questions.
Go ahead.
Thanks, I was trying to be polite and wait till then, but I'm just wondering with the contract worker, the trip agents, and congratulations on being able to implement that so quickly. Is there a pathway then for those trip agents to become permanent trip agents and permanent Met Council or Met Transit employees?
So Chair Zelli, to your question, sir, sort of is the answer. We did open application for our in-house employees. Several of them did apply, and I urge them to apply. Look, you guys have the experience, you've been in on the ground level, please apply. And several of them did. So applications are now closed. We expect to reopen them next year. We received a lot of interest for our in-house position. So, as we are able to hire more next year, I will continue to encourage them to apply.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
And sorry if you mentioned this, but 28 is what is that the cap, or are we hoping to have more than 28 at some point in the near future?
Chair Zelli and council member, we have 24 agents that we're contracted for with Allied at this time. The contract calls for 12 in the morning and 12 in the afternoon shift. And then adding on 22 FTEs of our own in-house employees. So at that time, that's what the budget is, and that's what I'm hiring up to.
Fantastic, thank you.
Right.
One other question for you, just, can you paint for me so like at peak, when 12 trip agents are out, what does coverage look like? People kind of ask me this, and I'm not able to fully articulate what it would look like day to day when you have 12 agents out of the system.
Absolutely. Chirzeli, Regional Administrator. Basically what we do when we have that full staffing, we typically put people into teams of 3. The law says we can't go teams less than 2 people, and we found that 3 is really the most effective on the LRT, kind of 1 at each end and then 1 in the middle. And so then typically we'll put 2 teams out on the green line, 2 teams out on the blue line. We try to spread them out on trains. At any given time, I think there's somewhere in the area of like 14 or 15 trains on the entire system. So we're not covering that at this time. We're staffing up to it. My dream is we'll have agents on every car for maximum amount of hours. So, but that's really the answer, is you'll see a couple teams on each of the lines, and we're continuing to work to get better numbers even than we have.
Thanks.
And they move through a little like at a station, get out, go to the next car, kind of, yeah.
Chirzeli, that's absolutely correct. They are not stationary in that one particular car from end to end. They do get out, switch cars on a particular train, so going from one car to the next car, get out and patrol platforms to remind people that that's a paid fare zone, and address the behaviors that you can't smoke on a train, you also can't smoke on a platform. Those sorts of things are what they're out there working on and talking with individuals as well.
Okay, so I have a more nuanced question for trip agents. Maybe it's more anecdotal, but are any of them run into situations that are a little too scary, so they kind of hold back, or do they call in police officers?
Chirzeli, it's a fantastic question, and actually one that I field regularly.
Yeah.
They are trained in de-escalation tactics, verbal de-escalation. So I tell them that you've got these verbal skills. They do have a radio that goes straight to police dispatch. So police dispatch can then coordinate getting police out as needed. Or also I will say this, that there's medical situations. We've had 8 administrations of Narcan in the last 4 months, and in fact, just 5 in July.
They carry Narcan.
They do carry Narcan, and that's part of the law, and really something we found to be absolutely crucial to assisting our community. So they can call in. I encourage them to step off the vehicle, or if it's happening on a platform, step on a vehicle, step away from the situation if you feel that you're unsafe. It's just, at the end of the day, not worth whatever it is. They aren't armed. They don't carry any chemical spray or anything else. So they've got a radio, a smile, and some de-escalation skills, and they wield them very well, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, it's not related to trip, but we've been talking about the platforms and the stations. How is that going as far as keeping them clean and tidy and repairs done in a timely manner and graffiti removed and all of that? And I'd like to get back out on the line to see just all of the differences since I've been out. But how's that going? Because that also kind of sets the tone for people when they're approaching or, getting off the train.
The chief maintenance officer.
Yeah,
I'm deferring that.
Chirzeli, Councilmember Johnson, thank you for that question. So a couple of thoughts. First, how we clean, maintain our facilities is part of the Safety Security Action Plan. When we did engagement around the plan, we heard loud and clear that those conditions are part of what lead to a sense of safety. So we have a lot of work underway, and I think I'd like to figure out how we can best follow up with you so we get the whole picture. But one vehicle too is, as part of the 2023 Transportation Omnibus, there was language in there requiring us to set maintenance and repair standards for vehicles and for facilities. During this last session, the legislature updated some of those reporting requirements. So we're actively getting prepared to submit a report to the legislature. So that might be a good time for us to brief the council members too about that work and where that stands. So appreciate the question, and we'd like to follow up maybe with more thorough response to everyone, but yeah.
And just Mr. Chair, follow up on that, because I think the most astonishing thing to me was just the amount of needles that were, thrown in the tracks and around the station. So I'm imagining things are getting better just based on reports that are coming in. But, that would be nice just for us to know because, for people that ride it every day, and that are coming back, that's really great. I just know that just those first impressions are a big deal. And, I know they're there to help people, those needles that, Hennepin County or others disperse, but to have that, become something in our charge is just, I just wanna know how that's going.
Chair Councilmember Johnson, I'll just add that, some of the pieces that we have in motion to improve the conditions in our facilities, we added around 30 new positions to our budget in one of the earlier budget amendments to support this work kind of across the board. We continue to hire to do more on this. You saw some in the video that we are prioritizing power washing facilities. Just within recent months, we've started cleaning bus rapid transit vehicles while they're in service because of the volume of usage they get and making sure that we can address that in more real time. So, it's part of I want to kind of package it all together because I think we have made a lot of strides, but absolutely it's still something we need to keep working on. We also have those reported problem QR codes on shelters now for bus rapid transit and light rail stations. So we're starting to get a sense too of what's being reported in there, and that's helping us get our arms around it as well.
Thank you.
I'll just say it's a huge noticeable difference from 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. Knowing that it takes someone with a McDonald's bag about 30 seconds to ruin all of the good work, which drives me crazy because we have garbage cans, recycling right there, and still people don't do it. So, but it's a noticeable, huge improvement.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you, Chair, council members, RA. Thank you all for allowing us to present. I am going to be presenting on 2 topics today, giving you an update on the JLMSC and the peer support program. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm not sure everyone knows who I am. I'm Ron Forrest. I'm the Deputy Chief Operating Officer. I oversee both busing and light rail operation, transportation. So first up, JLMSC. Just to recap, as I'm sure many of you know, and probably all of you know, in 2021, the bipartisan infrastructure law became effective. All public transit agencies that received Chapter 53 funds had to engage in a collaborative process with our labor partners to address all issues related to transit worker safety and system safety. Okay. That process had to be documented in what's called our agency safety plans through SMS, which is Safety Management Systems, and that really is just a formalized way of identifying safety risks, implementing corrective actions to either mitigate or eliminate those risks, and also to measure our performance in a very data-driven way. Metro Transit formed the Joint Labor Management Safety Committee. It's comprised of 23 people total. We have 20 voting members, 10 on the labor side and 10 on the management side. And we have 2 chairs, co-chairs, actually, one representing management, that's me, and the other representing labor. And then we have our safety director, who's involved in that process and helps, keep track of all of our SMS information. We have bi-weekly meetings. Our meetings were an hour and a half long. For the next couple of months, however, we have extended those meetings to 3.5 hours. We have a lot of work to do. Okay. Some of that work came in the form of a final ruling from the FTA in April of this year. That final ruling became effective in May of this year. It was the first major update to the bipartisan infrastructure law, and it required us to incorporate 7 new safety performance measures into our agency safety plan. Now, these are measures that we had always been tracking, but on a much broader scale, so or in broader categories, I should say. And so the final ruling wants us to be a little bit more granular. They want us to specifically call out pedestrian collisions, which is a major focus, and also not just injuries, but injuries related to transit workers and assaults related to transit workers. Those are the new safety measures. We also have to implement safety risk reduction. We have to come up with safety performance targets, which we are in the process, but we will be in the process of doing shortly, and those will be based on a rolling 3-year average of those safety measures that we're already monitoring. Another part of that is de-escalation training, which you guys are hearing in another presentation. You'll get much more detail from Dan here. And then addressing infectious diseases. We are in the process, starting tomorrow. We're going to start on updating our agency safety plans. The first one will be our rail safety plan. In addition to that, we're going to start doing the work on the transit worker assaults, and we're going to start setting some performance targets and monitoring our performance there. We're also evaluating the effectiveness of our current operator compartment barriers, and we're looking at something that's more fully enclosed. That's something that's specifically called out in the final ruling for us to take a look at. So next, we're planning on in September to take the entire JLMSC up to St. Cloud, to New Flyers manufacturing facility. They're working on a new fully enclosed design, and so we want to go up there and check it out and see how that looks. The goal is really to reduce passenger access to operators so that they don't have so much opportunity to physically assault them. Okay.
Sorry, Councilmember.
That's all right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So one question on that, when we first put in the barriers, there were a mix of reactions where there were some operators who part of the job that they liked was the interaction with people. And that's why we had the ones that could be open or closed. And so does everyone has to move towards fully enclosed, or is there still gonna be opportunities for the operators to choose?
Chair, Councilwoman, great question. That is something that we have raised to the union. Operator assaults, transit worker assaults have significantly increased since the pandemic. And so this is a real safety issue that the industry is suffering from, and everyone's trying to come up with a way to address that. And it's specifically called out in the final rule as something that we have to mitigate or eliminate. What we have raised with the union is that if we go to these fully enclosed barriers, then we need to have a serious discussion about making using them a requirement, because if we make this investment, and it's similar to the light rail vehicle, right? It's a fully enclosed compartment, and the statistics show that light rail operators do not get assaulted on transit vehicles. Most of the assaults occur in the station, and that's usually when they try to wake someone up, or they're going from one end of the train to the other. So this is a serious issue, and I think that we will push strongly for operators to use those barriers.
Mr. Chair. Yeah. Councilmember Barber, so when we toured New Flyer recently, we were seeing some of our buses and stuff, and Ron and I had a chance to talk, and others that day too. I mean, the industry is clearly moving toward more enclosures across the country. We were able to see some from New York City buses that day, so I got to do a live walkthrough of some of what might be happening. I wanted to add just one other point that's important for here. It's not going to be today's conversation necessarily, but we've talked about this some too. Fare compliance is one of those points of friction that can result in issues as well. And so as we think about, if you go to our website right now, we got lots of fares at lots of times, and fare simplification is needed. I will just assert that, and we had a chance to talk about this a little bit. But when we talk fare simplification, there are a variety of reasons why that matters. This is one of the reasons that I think about the most from talking to our operations folks, and I didn't want to not have that be a part of this conversation, and Leslie didn't know I was going to bring it up today, but it just fits here really well that 2 quarters can make a difference. You know, these $50 increments are really challenging in those moments and stuff, and we should think long and hard about how that all fits. So more to come.
Interactions with the driver.
Yeah.
Of the operator.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chair Ari, good point. The industry's data shows that operator assaults, verbal and physical assaults, occur mostly during the fare collection process, so it is important that we address that issue.
Councilmember Carter.
Yeah, I was just wondering when you, these barriers, is there like a flexibility so you could have, suppose I'm comfortable with not having as much barrier. Am I gonna be able to, if I was a driver, would I be able to adapt that to my comfort level? Or is it gonna be like sort of one size fits all?
Chair, Council Member, so the industry is still trying to figure out an enclosed barrier design. It's still something that's in the works. However, there are enclosed barrier designs. How operators are able to use it or to adjust it is something that we will be figuring out as part of the JLMSC. We'll consider several different designs. And then we'll consider whether or not to make it a requirement that they use those.
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I would be very interested in seeing, and I'm sure other council members might be interested in seeing some of those designs. I don't know if there's a possibility of, having sliding plastic that can be open, like a window or something like that. But I think if we have that visual of what it looks like, and also hearing from other agencies that want these protective barriers, and also the employees, maybe getting that updated since it's been a couple years since we had that start of that discussion. I think it would be helpful for the council to hear those things.
Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How are we doing on prosecuting people who assault our operators? Because if you're gonna beat somebody up over 50 cents or $2 or whatever the fight is over, those are people who are probably pretty dangerous to other people in the community as well. Are we prosecuting that and dealing with it?
Chair, council member. Yes, so I went over those statistics earlier. They are pending review and assignment within the district attorney's office. But I will say that the prosecutions have improved as we establish and improve our relationships with specific assistant attorneys. As a matter of fact, in Hennepin County as well as Ramsey County, we have a dedicated prosecutor who oversees transit cases specifically.
Okay, thanks. Peter.
My experience when I'm on the bus and I see people coming onto the bus and they express that they don't have the money or that they lost their transfer or for some reason can't pay, they are just told to come onto the bus. Is that, and I'm fine with that. I think that's wise, especially hearing what we just heard about that's
the source of a lot of assaults. Are they trained to do that? Is that standard operating procedure, or are operators just opting to do that?
Chair, Councilman, good question. No, they're trained to state the fear. However, this is a new day. That policy of challenging for the fair is something that is it doesn't take into account the environment, the actual operator environment anymore. And so some operators are choosing to not engage. They're choosing to avoid challenging because they just don't have the level of comfortability for that. And we understand that. And so we are not we're not fully enforcing that policy until we, and maybe we won't, but at this point we recognize that we have to give transit workers more tools to de-escalate, and that's what this next presentation is going to be about. And once we feel comfortable and the data shows that these de-escalation tools are working, then that's probably something that we can revisit. But for now, there are some operators who are choosing to not engage.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Chair Zelli and council members, my name is Dan Stauffer. I am the manager of bus instruction for Metro Transit. Happy to be here today. Thanks for letting me present my slide. To answer real quickly, also Councilmember Lindstrom's question is, we teach at the instruction center. We are informers, not enforcers. And so we inform the fare, but we're not going to enforce the fare. So I wanted to add that too, just for clarification. Today, I'm going to be talking to you specifically about the action items 2.1 and 2.3 for training and supporting employees with our de-escalation training. De-escalation training, when we talk about de-escalation, we talk about two folds, two paths. The first path, some of you are very familiar with because I presented to the Transportation Committee a year ago or so to get a contract with the Red Kite Project. We are under a contract with the Red Kite Project that is a de-escalation firm out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They have classes at the instruction center once a month, and they primarily work with bus and train operators. To this point, we have trained over 1,000 operators, both bus and rail, through Red Kite. Red Kite focuses on crisis intervention, resiliency, and conflict de-escalation. We are excited to roll Red Kite out to the trip agents. That will be coming up here within the next month and a half, because we want the frontline worker to get this training as well before they hit the platforms. It's very, very important. We're also excited because of the new contract. We are allowed to roll this out even further to all frontline workers, and we'll be doing that in the first quarter of 2025, starting in January. Red Kite is a huge success. We've been in contract with them since 2016, and they do a wonderful job with our employees. I oftentimes hear, even though it hurts my feelings a little bit because I don't train Red Kite, they say it's the best training we've ever had. And they walk away after that 3-day of class kind of renewed, refreshed, and they get a lot of things off their chest with other colleagues that are experiencing the same thing they are. Because of the bipartisan infrastructure law mandates us to have de-escalation training. So Metro Transit can confidently check that box and say that we do offer de-escalation training through the Red Kite Project. The executive management team of Metro Transit, led by Leslie, came to us and said, we wanna meet that expectation of the bipartisan infrastructure law, but we wanna exceed it. We just don't wanna meet it, we wanna exceed it and go above and beyond. So Dan, would your team be willing to construct in-house de-escalation training? So myself and a couple of my team members are working very hard to create a de-escalation training. We have reached out to 10 different agencies from King County in Seattle to Central Ohio to the Florida DOT, who's responsible for Tampa and Miami, in WMATA, Washington DC, to work together to develop this de-escalation curriculum. This de-escalation curriculum is almost complete. Our job or our target will be to release this to all new bus operators starting on Friday, September 13th. At that point, we will be training every class every Friday in de-escalation tactics. Once we get a firm hold of the new hire requirement, we'll be reporting that out, and we will be releasing that to all transit workers, all frontline workers, starting January 1st of 2025. So right now, those are our two ways that Metro Transit operations is trying to reduce the transit worker assaults that we're experiencing with our operators.
Would this in-house program replace Red Kite project or?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great question, Chair Zelli. It would work in conjunction with it. The nice thing about the in-house is that it's always there to use. So for example, if we have somebody that immediately needs a refresher or has experienced some issues and the assistant manager says, hey, we need to give them some more tools, we can have a class that day with them or the next day. Where Red Kite's a little bit harder because you have to get the hotels and the plane tickets and reserve rooms and things. So there's some real benefits of having the in-house training.
Is the Red Kite project, maybe I dreamt this, but it got to start with emergency rooms in hospitals?
Yes, Chair Zelli, you're exactly right. It is marketed that they got their start with emergency rooms and also over in the Eastern Bloc in Bosnia and places like that, where the trainers learned all the things that they implement. If you come to a class, very unique style, non-traditional. They don't want anything in the classroom. They don't want chairs. They don't want posters hung on the wall. It's just a circle six they call it, and it's somewhat of a counseling session. The first day, you get everything off your chest. The second day, they give you tools and tips on how to de-escalate and things. And then the third day is a little bit of tough love. They challenge each employee to say, perhaps maybe you're doing some things that can escalate and we want to de-escalate the situation.
Right. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yeah, thanks. I really support this idea of de-escalation training. In my staff where I work, we do de-escalation training just because of the environment that we work in, and we need it. So I really applaud these efforts. And then you referenced a couple times that operators are the priority for training, and then other frontline workers. And I'm just wondering what are the other frontline workers doing?
Chair Zelli and Council Member, it's frontline workers from bus and train operators to bus mechanics to public facility workers. Those are the people that are out on the platforms changing the light bulbs and they get harassed quite a lot. They sometimes even get it a little bit. I don't know if I want to say more, but in different ways because they can't escape. A train will stop and they're out of there. Where if you're changing a signal head at light rail and things, you can't necessarily escape. So we're going to be reaching out to all frontline workers at light rail, public facilities, and bus transportation. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks so much. Really great to hear that.
Okay. Next presentation is on peer support. So peer support, Metro Transit has actually had a peer support program since the 90s. And that peer support program are volunteers. It's made up of volunteers who go out and respond to provide support to operators at this time that have experienced some either stressful or traumatic event. They're trained to provide that type of support, but it's a strictly voluntary position. So you can have finished an 8 or 10 hour workday and then get a phone call to respond. And therein lies some of the inefficiency in the program because many times that call goes unanswered. And so what we've decided to do, and actually people before I got here, decided to create some more structure and to make sure that we had more dedicated staff to provide that response, provide that coordination, and to also do follow-up so that, not just operators, but frontline workers aren't just going about every day needing to have some mental health support. So we budgeted, we got approved a dedicated staff of 2 people so far. That was approved in 2020 in our Q2 budget amendment for 2024. And that includes a program manager who's certified in peer support, and also a peer support program coordinator who actually will be doing the dispatching, making the phone calls, and dispatching responders. So those 2 dedicated people are there. The program manager is going to be there as a subject matter expert in peer support and do some non-clinical case management. And then we're going to use those 2 people to tell us what the program needs to look like. So they'll help us build that out, and what it might look like. It may look like our critical incident responders being volunteers, but are paid when they go and provide that response to offer some sort of incentive to do that. And it may look like additional dedicated staffing. But what we do know is that we have to have someone there to respond. And what that looks like is still being envisioned. The position classification, it went to HR it went before the position classification committee on July 3rd, and it's still pending approval. However, I did speak with our HR business partner, and they're going to recommend that it gets approved. And it's already really been approved and budgeted, so we're pretty sure that we're going to get those 2 positions. Once we do, the goal is to have them posted sometime this month, probably around the end of this month, and to have those 2 people onboarded by Q4 of this year. And again, it's to provide a non-clinical immediate response and full support resources for employees immediately after an event and on an ongoing basis.
Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. This is wonderful that we're thinking of that kind of support that's needed out there in circumstances that become unmanageable. When you say peer support in your hiring manager and the coordinator, I wasn't really sure if those first 2 in position would have experience driver experience out there on the front line. Because it says peer, I'm assuming that that is to be factored in at some point. Can you tell me how that looks from the beginning?
Chair, Councilman. Yeah, so ideally, our preferred qualification is that this person has shared experience with public transit frontline workers. However, in order to get certified, they have to have some sort of shared experience that they've overcome. So there will be some experience that they've gone through and they've evolved from and developed from. But yeah, ideally, we would like to have that shared experience be in the public transit environment. And so when we start screening for this, that's certainly something that we'll be looking for.
Thank you. I realize that will take some work to determine whether or not it's something you can find.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is really amazing and good and so needed, right? It's just almost base needed just as human beings when we have to go through things, right? But how else are we just overall providing opportunities to assist people's wellness in general? I think having a sense of wellness and, any given day, I can't even imagine doing these jobs, how stressful they can be on an ongoing basis with everything they've got to monitor as it relates to their jobs and interactions with the public, which can be just a whole thing. So what are we doing just generally to help people outside of work, maybe during, some of their pre-work, post-work? I knew this was really important for us in Plymouth in the PD, making sure that they had the opportunity to work out and do all those things. And I know we've got some of those amenities at, PD, but just how are we helping support people as they transition to their home life and they're carrying a lot of stress in my day? And I just know it's easy to dump on the first person or dog or cat or whatever, is waiting for you wherever you arrive at the end of your workday.
Chair, Council, good question. I'll start the answer and then Dan can finish. Another component of our mental health resilience support is that we train our supervisors and managers. In fact, we're engaging in conversation, Dan and his team, they're engaging in conversation with Red Kite to provide training specifically focused on supporting employees who are experiencing some mental health crisis, recognizing when employed red flags and providing that type of support, and also engaging in conversations that may result in disciplinary action from a more informed perspective that mental health is becoming a serious issue. So that's one of several things that we're doing. And also this peer support position will have a full understanding of our employee assistance program and be able to direct employees to those resources. And the peer support manager, they're going to do some case management. So they're going to be tracking these employees where that isn't being done now. And making sure that those who need help, are encouraged to get that help.
And I'm thinking more generally, certainly around incidents and mental health, but I'm just thinking generally like, exercise and sunshine and fresh air and time to enjoy maybe a podcast or wind down with some music or health and wellness tools just as a human, bringing your best self home and bringing your best self to work every day. Do we have strategies to help with that?
Chair Zelli and council member, some of the things that I wrote down here, because I was kind of in your lane too, saying, okay, generically, I look at our buildings. The building that was just built, the North Loop Garage, has all kinds of green space. so that they can go out and they can sit on the deck in the patio and visit with their peer. We have the peer support. Peer support is based out of my building. Right now it's conducted by a lady named Anna, and she is constantly busy. People are coming into her office just to have some counseling with Anna. We have contracted with People's Incorporated Mental Health Institute out of Bloomington, and they teach all of our new apprentices. We have Sand Creek that's offered our EAP that offers counseling services. We have Fit for Life. Fit for Life, I believe, is based out of this building, led by Crystal Felton. And they sponsor all kinds of exercise activities, from ping pong tournaments to walking clubs to reading clubs. They have all kinds of things just for the health of a person. And then one of the biggest things that I see that we've brought on is our mentor-mentee training. It's where we just had one today. All of our students passed their tests today, their final test. They all came in at noon. In the old days, we would say, congratulations, we're really proud of you, call us if you need us. And now we say, congratulations, we're really proud of you, let me introduce you to your mentor. And then they go down into the Dakota room and they have a whole different mentor thing. So that allows a new person that's scared or frightened to have a veteran person to become, to get that stuff off their chest. So many times in transportation, as you all know, people don't speak our language. You go home to your husband, wife, or partner, and what I hear from our students in our bus drivers is they don't understand, they don't get what I'm trying to tell them. My wife or husband or partner doesn't understand. That's why the peer-to-peer support, the mentor, and the Fit for Life is so important.
That's great. At some point, I'd just like to know maybe what the participation is on the Fit for Life. And do we actually ask people what they want during their shift or before or after their shift? Because it changes, and I think going through COVID, things change how people want. And I just think it's just, I just think it's important that we can, whatever we can do, all that sounded good. I also know that unless people do it, it doesn't make sense. So if there's green space, hopefully it can be activated in the way they want, or maybe just quiet space or whatever. I don't want to get into details, but I just think that's super important. The crisis moment is exceptionally important, but just helping people manage all the things they got going on every day, it's just something that always sticks with me.
I'm a seasoned bus guy and for over decades, and I just love this idea of developing the culture of peer support, and I think it's really essential. And I actually learned the important lesson from my own daughter, who was a peer helper in high school, and of course I was very proud she'd been selected to be a peer helper, and she goes through training, and I said, how do people know that you're a peer helper, that they would go to you? And she goes, oh Dad, you kind of don't get it, which is really what daughter said, and that's important. So, and I said, what do you mean? She goes, it's not important that other people know that I'm the peer helper. I know I'm the peer helper. Mm-hmm. And the point is, the signs of stress and anxiety, people exhibit it all the time, but they're not seeking help. The peers who are there can read that, or the supervisors. And I love that training and cultural kind of awareness. Keep our eyes open and read between the lines where people are experiencing, because people aren't calling Fit for Life, and they're not going to those places, but they might need somebody. And that's what I think the peer culture, it really resonates.
Yeah, and Chair, council members, if I could add, we do at almost all of our facilities, we have workout rooms and we have quiet rooms, and we can do a lot more to encourage our employees to use them, but they're available. Thank you.
Sophia, we've been waiting for your
last presentation of this presentation. Well, good evening. I'm Sophia, Chair, Council members. I'm Sophia Guinness, the Director of Community Affairs at Metro Transit. She, her, call me Sophia. I'm going to talk about a different kind of support right now. You get the slide there. There you go. Which is how our outreach, communications, and marketing efforts support the work of our police department as well as our frontline employees in helping them accomplish their jobs. And as the video showed, you know, and as Leah expressed with the trip agents, I'm representing the work of a lot of talented people here, and a lot of us are driven by the fact that we get to see it out on our system. You know, we're implementing it. We're making an impact in our communities, and I take a lot of pride in that. Before I get into the slides, I want to take a quick detour and address Councilmember Vento's question from earlier, which is we think a lot, especially when we're about to open up new lines, and the change in behavior. And the outreach team right now is currently working on kind of the operational readiness outreach piece, which goes from, hey, don't drive on that guideway, it's a guideway, to you know, this is a really safe, welcoming experience. And our police department is in regular conversation with the community that you mentioned. We're having monthly meetings as we kind of think of our truck to opening day. So obviously a lot more we can do, but just it's your comments really resonated and plugged into the work plan. So. And so with that, going back to a campaign that I first came and talked to you all about almost a year ago, as we adopted our rules for riding and then really thought about how we wanted to frame that messaging with our passengers and community, and then implement that on the system. And to take us back, because now it's all out there, we were really focusing on kind of this positive message, this call to action, this shared responsibility in the shared space, heard in the video, right, that was shown earlier. And so we launched the Take Pride in Your Ride campaign. The image on the top left is kind of what I call the parent campaign, which is what all the subtopics are kind of the theme that they're based off of. We launched the year with Love Your Lungs, a request to not smoke in our shared spaces. And the voices of youth rang out on our system. And, people noticed. People for sure noticed. And, it's not on a regular playing cycle anymore, but I've been riding a few times, and people still can choose that message. And Leslie and I heard it a few times just recently. So we're just, we're giving tools for our frontline staff to communicate as they're doing their work. As we've gone through kind of the year, we've touched on the issues that we know bother our employees or our customers the most, and really give a sense of, hey, does this space feel safe? From, hey, I get on a train and there's a bunch of McDonald's wrappers all over the place. Is this really something that's taken care of? And thinking about our anti-littering efforts, and whether that was we wrapped our garbage cans, we put that out in the world, and we've continued along that way, including just kind of some of the nuisance behavior. Just be nice to each other, right? Kind of that reminder. We're going to be focusing really soon on not holding the doors. Holding the doors holds everybody up. So be respectful of your fellow riders, and while not the focus of campaign, holding the doors also damages our equipment. So not great. So we'll be, asking folks to really think about how holding the doors makes everybody late, and is not a great thing. So we will continue with thinking about how to have these messages resonate, and we'll take pride in what we're doing as we go. I also want to touch on a piece that is kind of ongoing work that Metro Transit's doing, and Chief kind of highlights some of it in his presentation as well, all the community outreach that occurs, in really the recognition that safety is not something that you do once and then safe, right? You often have to have very long-term sustained partnerships. This has been something Chair Zelli has said to me, so I'm now repeating back his words. But that, you know, we don't want to push it on each other, right? It's developing these partnerships and thinking about how these partnerships ultimately make us successful. So we, many people at Metro Transit have been committed to that work, whether that's members of the police department or members of my team, as well as, I can keep listing a whole bunch of people, and just want to highlight a couple initiatives. We've been doing quite a lot of work organizing around our Lake Street. That started with a supplemental security, involves the city of Minneapolis, our business association on Lake Street, and many of the private partners around. And you know, kind of started off kind of bumpy. The conversations were bumpy. And now we have this kind of ongoing working relationship where people just kind of tag each other for needs. And you know, that we've expanded that in other places in our system. We're doing the same right now in Brooklyn Center Transit Center, and the Lake Street one was one that we kind of initiated. The Brooklyn Center is kind of a more organic coming together. That's also kind of reflected in individual events that we do, such as supporting National Night Out. I noted from Councilmember Lilligren earlier that there's maybe some other places that we need to lean in and strengthen this work, so happy to have additional conversation about that. I think we would definitely want to rise to the occasion, because we've been rising to the occasion as people have let us know that there's both challenges and opportunities. And one of our more recent ones is that we've been working on some issues around University Avenue in Dale. And we've made some adjustments to our shelters there to respond to community pieces. Well, because of conversations that some of you all helped kicked off, we've been really staying close to our partners at Ramsey County Libraries. And so there was just the opportunity, right? We've been calling each other and talking about things and checking in, and they've been convening multiple conversations in the area, and so now we attend a regular gathering of folks in the University Avenue and Dale area to kind of the businesses and the library there, and we have stations and bus stops, and this is a model that takes a lot of work, but it's, I think, where we've seen a lot of fruit is these sustained partnerships and efforts. And I always like to say, if you know who to call to be mad at, you've done your job, right? So even if we're having hard conversations, just knowing who a partner is to reach out to and discuss it. So a lot of work on that effort, and just gotta also recognize my colleagues sitting over here from our MTPD. We have a lot of individuals that really do really awesome community work, and so it's been an honor to be in partnership with them in community doing these types of things. I would be remiss to not also recognize that our active communications and telling that story is a big piece of it, and that takes multiple facets, whether that's being very visible and ready to listen, and doing another round of listening sessions coming up just over a week, as well as being very proactive about our media messaging. I think everybody knows Ms. Nikki over here, but kind of having that monthly news briefing that addresses some of these messages and really leads people to what we've been doing and the positive impact that it's been having, just to get more of that word out. And I think we've been seeing some really successful efforts. So basically what I'm saying is we have a lot of really passionate, awesome people that are bringing creative ideas to the table, and really wanting to sit with community and build these partnerships. And we need to do more, and we want to do more, and really appreciate the feedback that all of you have been giving us. We've been attempting to bring it in and really respond in positive and productive ways. And I will continue to take pride in those efforts.
Councilmember Dyer.
Thank you. Very refreshing information. And I really appreciate knowing the listening sessions are coming up, that they're formatted, and also that they will be flexible enough to go in directions in which our communities are looking for us to explore with them. I know that on both sides of the particular area that you're talking about right now, Dillon University, there are very active groups.
Yes.
And I am glad to know that you're investing time in those groupings. And they will, of course, have the opportunity of being a part of the upcoming listening sessions. They're also designing, in many cases in different areas of the community, places to come and talk. And there is an upcoming on Thursday. I know that we've been sharing information about that. I would hope that we've been, and I'm not sure, but that we've been able to help design what that may look like, although of course we're just gonna be there to be there as well. And I'm suggesting that as we hear from communities, that we be able to respond in such a way that carries with us what we are already preparing, and that if it fits in the listening session or in the format the community's designed, that we'll bring our whole selves, our whole council self, our whole Met Council, Met Transit, MTPD selves to participate in that way as well. So thank you so much, and looking forward to these upcoming and also Thursdays.
Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a while back, we were contracting with some community groups on transit. Are we still doing that, or is that done?
Are we thinking about our TISA?
I think so. Chair Zelli, Councilmember Wolf. Yes, so through the Transit Service Intervention Project, that was part of the 2023 Transportation Omnibus, we received $2 million to pass through to community-based groups as part of increasing presence in social service outreach on light rail specifically. So the council approved contracts for 10 different groups. Even though TSIP expired in law at the end of June, there was still some money on those contracts, so we extended the amount of time organizations could use to complete that work. And we're in the process of transitioning what we feel works well from that project into the ongoing transit record investment program. So the way it was structured in law was really as a pilot to get some of that work out there. And now we're doing a evaluation of that, really understanding what work we may want to continue. We've included in the TRIP area a position that would help manage that going forward. So that's a long way of saying we're somewhat in evaluation and transition. We do still have some groups, is my understanding, completing the work that we initially contracted them to do. And certainly as we get that evaluation pulled together, that's something we'd want to share with the council members.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is that evaluation including looking at productivity and kind of making sure that we were getting what we paid for?
Chair Zelli, Councilmember Wolf. I don't know off the top of my head all the different dimensions that are going to be in that report that we're pulling together. So I don't know, but I can follow up with the people who are organizing that.
Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks for the work. I just really appreciate these quarterly updates and very valuable. And Sophie, thanks for your community outreach. And I'm just gonna draw a very parochial for a moment and speak kind of to my district and also my immediate environment I work and live in. And so I represent the district that has the transit corridors of East Franklin, East Lake Street, 2 LRT stations that have had some significant security issues. And things are bad out on East Franklin and East Lake Street. And I'll just let folks know, Captain Raymond was at a community meeting where we met with across the county, city, lots of officials. And Captain, you did a great job, I think, bringing forward what Metro Transit's doing, and I hope you could feel in the room. People are more satisfied with Metro Transit Police and the efforts going on in transit than the other law enforcement agencies. But I will lift up that, a couple things that came up. The director of the Minneapolis American Indian Center was worked right in that immediate area for 33 years, said this is the worst she has ever seen it on East Franklin. The director of McGizzy Communications on Lake Street brought up that she was reviewing some archived materials from the 70s and 80s. It's a media training organization for youth. And she said in the 70s and 80s, they were talking about the exact same issues in the exact same geographies. So it's essentially Hiawatha to Nicollet, or 35 along East Lake Street in East Franklin. My office is there as well where I work, and it is bad. And a lot of it, I feel, is emerging from the authorities, the jurisdictions acting in ways that aren't directly engaging the community. And if folks have been around the Franklin Avenue LRT station in the last few months, you'll see every piece of public sector property is fenced off. And this was done almost overnight, no engagement with the community, 7-foot tall cyclone fencing. Now MnDOT has invested in a little bit nicer fencing, but it feels like a prison. And down in the communities on East Lake Street in East Franklin, we're investing heavily in creating nice environments to attract visitors, businesses to the area, and we're just pushing against public sector. And so the fact that there's been 50 years worth of conversations going on in these same geographies that haven't really moved the dial shows that we have a systemic failure. And we need to do things differently. And I appreciate this evaluation that's gonna go into the engage the communities that we've engaged, the community organizations. But the big message that came out of the community meeting with Captain Raymond was get us resources. Without an arduous RFP process, we need to take care of ourselves. Our organizations already are. My organization invests thousands in increased security personnel, cleanup. We have what we call the code browns. You can imagine what that is, feces in front of our doorways and things. And so this is a crisis level, and the response from the jurisdictions has been very sluggish and slow. And I just wanna lift this up because I live in it every day. And we need to do better. And I'm not diminishing any of this excellent work that's going on, but the community voice just doesn't feel like it's quite there. And I think that the fencing in our whole station area is an example of how somehow MnDOT, Hennepin County, Metro Transit, the city of Minneapolis could all coordinate an almost overnight rapid response to fence in all of this property. And yet it seems like we can't coordinate, those jurisdictions can't coordinate on a lot of things. And so that work that was done again without any community involvement and engagement. And so I just want to really lift up again what I said earlier, that we have allies out in these communities, and I think we still have a ways to go to figure out how to, one, have a more rapid response that is responsive to these community concerns and needs, and two, how to actively engage the community in some sort of rapid response program. Thanks.
I wanna lift that up a little bit, and I've been meaning to touch base with you, but I'll just say it publicly. I had a meeting with Paul Williams at Project for Pride of the Name.
Right.
And Leslie and I have talked about this.
Very close, just so people know, very close to my office.
Very close to his office, and really about Franklin, and I know that he has an idea of getting more of a summit about Franklin and really get the mayor's office, Margaret, and a few others. And I said we were all in, and I know Leslie is, and maybe there's more that we can get, even if it's getting Nancy or MnDOT involved. I mean, we should cycle back. I think there's things we can be doing, and even beyond, Metro Transit, please.
I'm happy to help and participate in any way I can.
Mr. Chair. I just would like to get out on a ride and go, because that was one of the rides I took a couple years ago, and I just want to see it because it just is important to know. I mean, and I really want to thank Sophia for taking a bunch of us on a transit ride and the micro transit in North Minneapolis too, a week or two ago. So, but I'd love to go back there and to see what's going on and better understand it. And it's heartbreaking, 50 years, it's heartbreaking. And so clearly what's ever happening isn't working, and it's human tragedy. And anybody who's passing through there is experiencing it. And then, you know, all the good work, you know, there's a setback. So I just really wanna, Robert, I really just wanna hear, and it's not my district, but I wanna see it, and I just wanna understand the depths of it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't belabor this, I have in CDC, and I won't put my CDC colleagues through this again, but this is not unlike what's happening in St. Paul. Catholic Charities, Higher Ground in St. Paul, has put fencing around their facility. And it's not getting any better, and I know there's talk about a regional approach to how we deal with homelessness and mental health. I continue to believe that we've gotta have a statewide approach to it. This is a statewide issue. Many of these folks are coming from out of state, but certainly greater Minnesota, and we've just gotta start thinking bigger and harder about this and move the thinking to act. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Sophia or the whole team? Well, Leslie, thank you and everyone here who's presented today. It is really one of the highlights every quarter. We obviously have great interest and we want to support your efforts in any way we can. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all and we'll see you very soon.
Sure.